What's going on YouTube? Ferocity here. Hope you guys are doing well. As we approach the end of the MW3 life cycle with the launch of Black Ops 6 tomorrow, I am very curious to know how you feel about the last year of Call of Duty. Did you fall in love with MW3? Or did you hate this game? Or were your feelings a little bit more impartial, a little mixed perhaps? Let me know with a comment down below, because I want to take today's video to reflect on the last year of Call of Duty and see if we're in a better spot today than where we were this time last year. So let's talk about it. And I have to be honest, the lead up to MW3 was overall pretty positive, as Sledgehammer Games set out to right a lot of the wrongs that MW2 introduced into the franchise. The perk system was going to be completely overhauled, moved away from that time release perk system and instead more traditional to what we'd seen in the past, but with their own spin on it. Something I truthfully enjoyed. In addition to that, they were bringing back slide canceling, reload canceling, and a bunch of other movement elements into the game that weren't present in MW2. We are also going to see the return of dead silence and red dots on the minimap, something that this community had desperately wanted, and were confused as to why dead silence was reserved as a field upgrade and why we didn't have red dots on the minimap. Both of these things perplexed the community, as it led to more camping, as it led to more stationary gameplay. But that was what MW3 set out to fix. And I thought they did a pretty good job out the get-go. However, the game did get off on the wrong foot with this community because the campaign released and it was underwhelming to say the least. Their brand new open world missions weren't really that open world. And it just disappointed this community. It fell flat. It wasn't the innovation that people thought it was going to be. And with it releasing a week before the multiplayer did, there was a sour taste already in the mouths of the community. And then the new game dropped. And right away, there were issues with the servers, and people were pissed about the new Armory unlock system. Neither of which went in the favor of Sledgehammer Games. And then you add, in addition to this, the fact that all of the maps we saw were maps we saw back in MW2 from 2009, and you had a very mixed reception within this community. I personally love the fact that I could go back and play some of my favorite maps from 2009, but it was something that fell short with this community, as not everybody enjoyed it. So people migrated over to Shipment and Rust to get their small map fill. And as time went on, slowly but surely maps from MW2 from 2022 emerged into the game. And then of course we got our brand new content. And this is where MW3 truly shined for 6v6 multiplayer. We've seen more content in this game than any other game in the Call of Duty franchise when it comes to 6v6 content. More maps every single season, more events, more things to earn and do, all of which are positives and definitely need to be recognized by this community. And I think the community understands that MW3 and Sledgehammer Games delivered when it came to post-launch content. However, well, yes, they supported 6v6, they kind of forgot about their war mode, as I think there were only 2 operations, and they also forgot about zombies at times. And that was the main issue I had with Modern Warfare 3, was while yes, they nailed the multiplayer in some elements, they kind of forgot about other aspects of the game. I feel as if zombies was undersupported, the campaign was just underwhelming, and it led to this weird situation where unless you enjoyed the content they were putting out in the seasonal releases, you were kind of left with a game that was mediocre at best. And even those who enjoyed some of the content they released felt alienated because they didn't love or enjoy playing in the small map mosh pit all the time and being forced to play Rust or Shipment or some variant of them almost every second match. Which leads us to another issue that Modern Warfare 3 had, which was map variety. More often than not, it felt like you were getting sent to the same 4 or 5 maps, which made no sense considering the fact that the game was flush with content. There were more maps than ever, and yet our selections felt very zeroed in on Rust, Shipment, Skid Row, Scrapyard, and maybe one other map in there, which would be Meat or Stash House. And that was kind of it. That was what you were forced to play on. Long gone were the days of running on the rooftops of Favela or navigating through the complicated terrain of Quarry. Instead, it was exchanged with the small map mosh pit of Stash House, Rust, Meat, and Shipment. And that wasn't something that was for everyone. And it's disappointing because some of the MW2 maps from 2009 played really well here in MW3. And I've argued before that the maps that they've imported from MW2 2022 played extremely well here in Modern Warfare 3. But for a game that has as much content as MW3 had, it felt like we were repetitive with what we were able to play. It didn't fully unlock all of its potential because it was so centered on trying to deliver you the most optimal experience by just regurgitating the same experience over and over and over again. Something that players get tired of rather quickly. And I know they set out to try to fix this over time. However, it felt like it was too little, too late. And players were already becoming tired of repeating the same maps over and over and over again. So if there's one major takeaway I have from this, is that when you have as much content as Modern Warfare 3 had, it is extremely important that you properly distribute that content so players have a wider variety at their disposal. That's the whole point of having more content, so you have more options. And it just felt as if, for the most part, MW3 later on in its life cycle restricted those options, restricted that variety, which made the game feel stale quicker. And that's something that Call of Duty is continuously trying to prevent, especially when it comes to their matchmaking system, something that we've talked about ad nauseum here on this channel. They even released a massive 25-page white paper report on how matchmaking works in Call of Duty. But despite all of this, the community is not convinced. They do not feel as if the matchmaking system that is currently implemented in Call of Duty is good enough. And this lends itself to one of the massive problems that Modern Warfare 3 had, was the lack of trust this community has when it comes to Activision. Because not only do people criticize the matchmaking systems that are present here in MW3, they're also not happy with the consistent server performance of Modern Warfare 3. And when I say consistent server performance, I mean the lack thereof. Because it felt like every second game you were getting extreme packet burst. You were getting these experiences that were not optimal. And for some reason, a game that's at its peak in 2024 cannot maintain a proper performance within its own servers versus a game that was released back in 2007. I'm not joking when I say that the server consistency back in COD 4 was better than what we had here in MW3. These games are 17 years apart, and somehow all we've seen is a decline in overall server performance. But we've talked about this all before. And then you include the cheater situation that has been running rampant across Call of Duty, and all of this has negatively impacted MW3. But this has been a problem with Call of Duty for a very long time, something that has not been resolved, which increases my concern for Black Ops 6, because these factors seem to be outside the control of the developer that is working on Call of Duty at that time. Which brings me to my last point, and that is the update fiascos that have continuously destroyed Modern Warfare 3. For the first 3 or 4 updates that this game received, all we had to say was negative things, with different elements of the game fundamentally breaking. Whether it was resetting players' ranks back down to 1, completely deleting the game from players' hard drives, or just straight up not connecting to Call of Duty servers. All of these things occurred after updates to Modern Warfare 3. And I don't want to zero the blame solely on Activision here. I would say that Sledgehammer Games had a hand in it as well. But this inability to be able to create competent updates was something that hindered this game early on. Now, it seemed that they were able to gain their footing and release pretty competent updates around Season 4 and 5. But then, of course, we all saw what happened with the brand new UI update, which was more so Activision's fault than it was MW3's. But this, again, erodes away that trust that the community has in Activision to deliver a competent product. And unfortunately, MW3 is the latest casualty to Activision's incompetence. I hate to say that because I see MW3 as a game that was set up to fail. In reality, any game that has 9 to 15 months to completely develop is already put in a really tough spot. And it seems as if Sledgehammer did the best they could with the tools that they had. They listened to this community. They tried to continuously improve the game. They gave us more content than we've ever had. And they leaned into nostalgia as much as they could without it being overboard. And as I look back on MW3, as much as I do believe there is some bloat there because they had to completely integrate MW2 into this game as well, I see it for what it is. An opportunity that Activision spoiled. Because Sledgehammer Games has earned some real brownie points with this community because of the effort that they put forth here in MW3. With that being said, though, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows this year for Modern Warfare 3. There were times where the game was completely unplayable or broken due to update failures that were both on Activision and Sledgehammer Games, or weapon balance decisions that they made with aftermarket parts or brand new weapons that they integrated into the game that just fundamentally broke certain elements of the game. And as a result, I think that there's more players that feel mixed about MW3 as a result. I think if we were to look at this game critically and completely, they had the best post-launch support we've ever had. However, some of that post-launch support became repetitive, with them leaning consistently into shipment is our most played map, so we need to create the most variants of it as possible. And unfortunately, that fell flat for many within this community that want a variety in their map design, not just have reskins of a current map. And that's why I thought it was such a breath of fresh air when they created a map like Meat or a map like Stash House that were these small, teeny tiny maps, but they were different than the constant regurgitation of Shipment or Rust that were in every single Call of Duty prior. So they had good efforts. They tried to think outside the box, but at times they let their complacency get the best of them. And that's something that I'm going to remember when it comes to MW3. Was towards the end of the game's life cycle, they got complacent. They got repetitive, and they tried to focus too much on one section of the community. And I'm not saying it was necessarily a bad decision. I'm just saying it alienated some players in the process. And that's the one thing that I'll remember with MW3, was that a lot of times throughout this game's life cycle, they push players away instead of bringing them in, instead of trying to entice them to continuously play. Because whether it was the small map designs that they were pushing all the time, or the completely broken aftermarket parts or weapon balance that they had at times, it just didn't feel like a game that you wanted to play if you just wanted to sit down and have fun. You either had to play on these small maps that were all about short bursts of dopamine hits, or you had to focus on something like, I don't know, the broken metas that were in the game at times. And that just did not equate to an experience that every player was dying to play. And maybe that's how MW3 is going to be remembered. It's going to be remembered as a game that either completely and utterly gripped you and made you fall in love with it, or a game that had more reasons for you not to play than reasons for you to play. And that's the way that I'm going to approach this game moving forward. I think there are elements of MW3 that need to be remembered and need to be held up and celebrated when it comes to this community, especially with how they started things off by completely eliminating a lot of the decisions that MW2 made. But secondly, I think that we need to remember that trying to just focus your entire vision on one section of the community is a failed task, because you'll in turn alienate the rest of the community as a result. So how do I feel about MW3 to close out this video? I feel pretty mixed. I don't have any interest in going back to it anytime soon. Maybe I'll revisit it at some point. But it just feels like another failed attempt at trying to connect to the original Modern Warfare trilogy in some significant way. If I was to pick between Modern Warfare 3 in 2023 or Modern Warfare 3 from 2011, I know which game I'd pick 10 times out of 10. I'd far rather play MW3 in 2011 at its height than this game. And the same goes with every other game that's a part of this trilogy. I'll take the original over the reboot 10 times out of 10. So I guess that's it. That's my long-winded way of summing up my thoughts when it comes to Modern Warfare 3. And with that, I want to finish this year off with a massive thank you to each and every single one of you that have been watching these videos throughout the past year. Whether this is your first or second video or you've been here since last October, thank you so much for all the love and support that you show this channel. This is just a hobby for me. It's something that I do on the side of my regular job and my other hobbies. But the support that I have from this community makes me want to continuously do this and get better. And don't worry, I'm going to still be providing a ton of content when it comes to Black Ops 6. Because like I said, you guys keep me going. You guys keep me interested and invested into what's going on in the Call of Duty community and in the FPS community as a whole. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this such a fun year to cover a game that has been so divisive and so mixed in its reception. I look forward to Black Ops 6. I look forward to what's to come. And honestly, I have nothing else to say other than if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for some Black Ops 6. Bye.